I was asked about how to handle grief and loss. Now, this experience is unique to every individual, and there are some profound experiences of loss that I will never know and wouldn't dare attempt to speak to. I'm sharing my experiences, having had my own profound losses, and understanding that the losses were varied. So they weren't limited to the loss of a loved one. Mine included a loss of a sense of self. They included the loss of jobs or financial stability for a period of time. It included, heck, the loss of, childhood friends at my age, to be able to say, oh, we've known each other for 25 or 30 or 40 years, and then all of a sudden recognize that that is no more. The grieving process is essential to allowing the thoughts and the feelings and even the physiological responses where you feel, nervousness in the pit of your stomach or headaches or, stiffness in your body or your back, to allow that to teach you or show you something. So the notion of handling grief and loss for me means that I'm attempting to control it. Attempting to control it means that I'm pulling from information that I know. But this is a new moment, and there may be new information that will govern how I move through this moment, not around it, not over it, not to avoid it, but to move through it. And if I'm applying what worked in the past or what I think would work in this moment, instead of just recognizing that in this moment I feel like sleeping, and in the next moment I feel like eating chocolate chip cookies, and in the next moment, I feel like going for a walk. And in the next moment, I feel like watching episodes of Good Times or Scooby-Doo. And that just got me from 9 o'clock in the morning until 10:30. And then I take a breath and I check in and find out that I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling irritated, frustrated, or I might be feeling calm or peaceful or numb or indifferent or incredulous. Being able to identify what I'm feeling allowed me to move through all of the grief moments that I've had. And I'm not even aware, other than journaling and identifying emotions, what from my past has ever worked for any current experiences. So when my father transitioned, this was 22 years ago, I made up one day I'm going to be in the store with eggs and milk, and I'm going to just break down, bawl, fall out, throw the eggs up, crash, clean up on aisle 8. And it's been 2 decades, and that's never happened because I allowed myself to go through the experience and have it show me. I remember I went to the movies, and it was a great time out. And then I found that the subject matter in the movie, because it had a lot of violence, was too much. So then I left the movie, right? Trusting that you intuitively know what works for you. I remember going to a New Year's Eve party. This was just prior to my father passing, but he was still very sick. And I made up, well, I can't go celebrate life while he's dying. Well, I made that up. Part of my grief process was, well, how do I have it all where I enjoy my life? So I spent time with him, and he said, well, do you have plans tonight? And I said, well, yeah, they're having a party that's a couple of blocks away. He said, son, go to the party. I'll still be here. Got it. So we set up, watched the ball drop. I kissed him on the forehead, and walked down the street, hung out at that party, and then I came back at like 3 o'clock in the morning. The point was to create balance. The point was to allow the grieving process to show me what I needed, rather than me making up, I've got to be here because I'm a dutiful son. Same thing applied with loss of a job. I had a contract that ended, and here I was without income and now on unemployment. So rather than taking that irritation, frustration, and confusion into the next moment, grieve it. I did the same thing with a short-term relationship. Said I give myself 30 days to grieve it. Now, that didn't mean at the end of 30 days I needed to be done, but it meant this was going to be a conscious 30-day process where I was aware of what I was feeling and sensing, what I was hearing, what adjustments were required so I could move through the process. I've had a number of moments where I made up I wasn't going to be able to handle the next moment. I made it up. I'm talking to you having moved through the next moments. No cleanup on aisle 8. No laying in bed for weeks at a time. Oh, I laid in bed for minutes and hours at a time and allowed that to be okay because maybe that's what I needed to feel and experience in that moment. So, my offering for your journey: 2 things. Give yourself permission to go through the experience because the experience will show you what you need in that moment. And if you're going through it, journal that sucker. That may be the best way to get it all out. And don't be polite. I have all kinds of, mine looks like Richard Pryor wrote mine because I got all kinds of expletives instead of being the nice, polite preacher's son. I was cursing up a storm. All right. And then the other one, get clear on what you're feeling. If you need to, Google feelings lists so that you're not caught up in I feel angry, upset, frustrated, annoyed, happy, horny, and sure as hell, good and fine. Use those sparingly because good and fine are not synonymous with upset and elated. So being able to walk through the process and journal it allowed for the unfolding of information that moved, allowed me to go with the flow. And being able to identify what I was feeling was essential. So, if this resonates with you because there is a loss that you are currently experiencing, or maybe it's a loss you've experienced in the past that you've not given time and attention to, as always, my invitation is be gentle with yourself.